Hi, I'm Cautex, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about some warrior-specific tips and tricks for the Mythic Painsmith Raznal encounter. Let's get started. I did this fight as arms, and I soulbound with Dreamweaver. If you're Night Fae, another strong option for this fight is to soulbind with Karain, and this is what the other warrior in my raid, Omer, did, and they ultimately did perform a bit better than I did. Going Karain means that every time the balls spawn, you'll be able to proc First Strike, and obviously, you're going to get First Strike for the ads at the end of each intermission. Because of these First Strike procs, the boss damage of Karain is fairly comparable to that of Dreamweaver, and it also does a bit better on ad DPS. However, Dreamweaver provides much better survivability. Also, having pod means that you can get away with making one mistake every 10 minutes. Assuming that your raid is swapping to balls quickly, and you have a couple of decent burst AoE specs, then there aren't really any meaningful DPS checks on this fight, making this fight more about survival than DPS. And this is why I chose to go Dreamweaver. For future kills, I am likely to go Karain as well, but during progression, I think that Dreamweaver is the better choice. I also took Second Wind for this fight, and this is because Second Wind does not get stopped by a bunch of the raid damage that goes out. This allows it to provide a pretty significant amount of healing over the course of the encounter. I also took Warbreaker specifically for being able to apply Class of Smash to all of the ads, as warriors are one of the best classes for bursting down the Shadowsteel horrors. Now, with the push timings that my guild was using, Fury is potentially in an interesting spot for this fight because with arms being a 90-second spec, whereas Fury is closer to more of a 1-minute spec, that enables Fury to potentially be able to get one extra set of cooldowns per phase, and you'll still have them up for the ads at the end of the intermission. Now, I'm not convinced that Fury would be the better spec for this fight, but if you wanted to do it, there are at least some justifications that you could make for that decision. Now, if you're arms, you're going to be using your cooldowns on pull, and then they will be coming up again during the first intermission. You should also use Bladestorm on the first set of balls, and this is because if you use it on the second set, it's not going to be up for the ads at the end of the intermission. You're also going to have Sweeping Strikes available for every ball set, so since you're using Bladestorm on the first one, you don't need it there, but every set after that, you should be using Sweeping Strikes. Now, this might seem like you're trying to pad, but it can cleave onto the boss, which should be right on top of the balls, so that's why you would do that. Your third round of cooldown should be coming up around the time that you're making the push into the second intermission, so depending on what your guild's DPS is, they might be available before the intermission starts. Make sure not to use them before the intermission because you're going to need them to help burst down the ads. Also, in Phase 3, because it lasts for 40% and not 30 like Phase 1 and 2, you're going to be able to get a second set of cooldowns during that phase, and you should use them basically on cooldown, but obviously for Ancient Aftershock and Spirit Bastion, you should be trying to use them when the boss is stationary as to maximize their benefit. And that's pretty much it in terms of warrior-specific tips and tricks that I noticed on this fight while doing progression. If you know of anything that I didn't mention, please tell me about it in the comments because I'm sure that there's something that I missed. If you need help learning the intermission for this fight, then I should have a video coming out in the coming days where I break down my thoughts and how I approached learning how to do the intermission on this fight. So look out for that if that is of interest to you. Alternatively, you could always just tell me why my opinions are dumb. Lastly, I just want to say thank you for watching this video, and subscribe for more.